Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss the fantasy hockey cards that were released. So if you saw them get released yesterday in packs, basically what it is all of these cards are going to upgrade throughout the regular season in the real NHL. It's my favorite event. It's just obviously this year didn't work as well as, they had originally planned. Obviously because it's released in the mid-season of the NHL video game, it makes it very difficult for them to release cards that are usable and have interest to follow through. So I think for the hut-rich people, I think this is an event to completely avoid because you're spending quite a bit of money and the returns, you're not really going to see a ton of them. Last year we saw, for example, like James Neal. He scored like 10 goals in the first 4 games of the season and blew up in value, and that was kind of like the top end, shining moment of the fantasy event. However, most of the other cards, there's a really big algorithm that EA has gone through and I've seen that kind of sets where their overalls are, and based on past history and as well as projections in a very shortened season, as to them being at their highest level at the end of the year. So you have to be prepared that these are going to be cards that, you're probably not going to be able to use if you're hut rich or even if you have a decent team. So I'm going to go over all of the cards that you've got and whether I think that you should just hard avoid them or at what price you should maybe take a flyer. But we'll go over those and see what we got in terms of synergy and like that. Let's get into it. All right, so we'll start off at the bottom again with Jack Eichel, 74 overall. Now, here is the issue. Obviously, he is the best of the bunch and is probably going to score more goals than anyone else in this release. Last year in 68 games, he scored 36 goals. It was a career high, and that's only about 12 more games than what they're going to play this season. That being said, starting at 81 speed means that he's going to have to score, because acceleration and speed only goes up by 0.5. That is where the main issue with this release kind of really hammers home, some of the problems. So if he gets 10 goals, okay, and, in a shortened season, they play every other night, let's say it takes him, 20 games would be a 40-goal season, so maybe 22 games, okay? His speed is only going to be 86. So this isn't a card that you're going to be able to use because he doesn't really have a synergy that helps him out. So distributor will help a little bit. Obviously, that gets him up to 83. Same with Spark. But his face-offs are never really going to be good enough to be able to be used. And then his shot totals, again, you can't use him until he scores. I mean, you really can't even use this card until he scores at least 6 goals to get up to, an 80 overall. At that point, his shot is above 80 at least. But you're not using this card for a good month, probably 2 months. And at that point, there's going to be so many high 90 overall players, it makes it very difficult. However, as a closet Sabres fan, someone who lives in Southern Ontario, I love Jack Eichel, and it's obviously a very cool card. Let's take a look at the auction house price though, because this is where it's going to be ridiculous. There's not even any found, so I would pass on Jack Eichel, and if I had him, I would sell him. Even free to play guys, unless you're a Sabres fan, that's the only way to hold on to this card. Next up, we've got Sam Bennett, and this is a definite avoid, and it's because I didn't even realize how bad Sam Bennett has been. I know that he was drafted high, 4th overall. I just didn't realize how poor he's been as a player. 52 games last season, which is basically what they're going to play this season. He had 12 points and 8 goals. So, I mean, at the end of this season, he was only, if this method or if this card was in here, an 87 overall. So there's no way, and with Heart and Soul not really going to work, and and Wingman, which is decent to get his acceleration up as well as his wrist shot accuracy, you're still not able to use this card until he scores 6 or 7 goals, and that was basically what he scored all of last year. So he has never had more than 18 goals in a season, in a full 82-game season. This is just a hard avoid. If he had distributor or Spark or something, maybe you could think about it, but there's no way. Then we've got Wayne Simmonds. Now, this one I actually think it might be a decent sneaky buy. If you follow Toronto, I mean, if you live in the Toronto area like I do, just in Niagara, I live in Niagara region, Leafs media blows everything up. You will see even the smallest of details. You will see drama about the taxi squad that they choose. The main thing coming out of camp already is the fact that Joe Thornton is for some reason on a line with Marner and Matthews, which is just, as a Sharks fan who's watched Joe Thornton for almost a decade and a half, I don't understand. There's no way he can keep up with them. But regardless, Wayne Simmonds is actually on the first unit power play in camp. And if that is the case, he's got a chance to score, a few goals early on. which makes him obviously usable. The whole goal, guys, is to make them usable so you can actually put them on your team, because at this point of the game, the real issue is if this set came out at launch, it'd be a lot easier because, again, overalls are so much lower. But again, they have to try and find a way to make it so the cards aren't super overpowered, and try to keep them somewhat usable. But it's very, very difficult to do so. So Wayne Simmonds last year, he only had 8 goals in the whole regular season. Now that was on a really bad New Jersey team, and then just equally as bad Buffalo Sabre team. Obviously, if he gets on the power play, with the Maple Leafs, which is so high powered, he will not be the trigger man, but he's going to be the one that sits in front of the net. With Distributor, he's already got 86 speed. If he can get 5 goals in the first 15 games, I mean, that's a huge amount for him, just based on past performance and whatnot. But nonetheless, it's not out of the realm of possibility with how offensive that team is. Then you're already at 90 speed, and once you're at 90 speed, you're usable. Like, that's it, right? Like, I think this is one of the cards that is usable. Now, the one thing I will say is he's right-handed, so right-handed winger, there's so much good options. But if you're a Leafs fan, I would 100% look into this card, and I'll take a look in the auction house. There's no way I'm paying $350K. Again, if you're hut rich, this is a time sink. Like, if these guys, they would have to be like, it's so difficult, guys, because I can't give you a value. There's no way that, a free-to-play player can afford this because you can't put him in the lineup. But if you're looking to, have a card that could make it, it would be this Wayne Simmonds. So 230 right now is still way too high. I feel like it'll be around 175, 150 when people, this is just going to be stuck in their collection for forever. Now we've got Clayton Keller. This is a bit of an interesting one as well because he does help you out with synergies. So that you have to take that into account. Now, he had 17 goals in 70 games last season, and definitely room for improvement. He's a very young player. He's only 22 years old. So Swarm and passing playmaker, again, you're not going to have that activated, but he does help with Swarm. He's already got 85 speed. If he can get, 4 goals, he's up to 87 plus Distributor. That's 90, and his shooting is all above 80. This is a usable card. Left-handed shot, like this is definitely a usable card. If you have other synergies as well, you can put them on your fourth line as you're going. But again, it's going to be tough. This one's going to be there's no way. The Maple Leaf influence on the marketplace is absolutely nuts. Okay, I would 100% take Clayton Keller at 200 over Wayne Simmonds at 235 because he actually has an optionable. I actually might buy this card, to be honest with you, because he has some of the biggest chances for a return. Next up, we've got Jeff Carter, and I hate this because one of the bane of my existence as a hockey fan, Jeff Carter and the Kings. He has Swarm and Howitzer, which already makes him usable. Like, you could put him in your lineup, and it wouldn't be awful on the fourth line as a right-handed winger. He had 17 goals in 60 games last season, so extrapolate that out. That makes him a 98, but you don't need him to get that high. So, again, he is going to get all the time in the world because the Kings are still bad. He's going to get all the power play time and whatnot in the world. With Swarm and Howitzer, 2 synergies that are very valuable. This is probably in the top 3 among best chances to actually return the value that you're going to put in to get him, because he is probably extremely expensive. If I had to get, say, 290, man, if he was around 250 and under, maybe, because again, like I said, guys, these cards are so much fun to have. I had a bunch last year. The Brady Tkachuk master item was my favorite card of all of NHL 20. And it's awesome because it'll actually make you watch other market games and things like that. It's just like real fantasy hockey. I love the events that do this. It's just unfortunate because as this is my favorite event of the year, it just happened in the middle of the NHL release, and that's not EA's fault at all. That's just COVID. So, but nonetheless, this is a really good card, and it sucks. Then we've got the 81 Jake Allen. I actually packed this card. This is an immediate sell, guys. So Montreal will be okay because their division is weak, but Carey Price, even though they play every other night, Carey Price is going to get the majority of the workload. Like, there's going to be a lot of teams that have a 50-50 split. Jake Allen and Carey Price will not be one of them. Carey Price is, making $10 million a year. He's incredible. Jake Allen's a good defense or a good backup, probably the best backup, one of them in the league, and he's going to get his chances to start. But these guys will only increase with wins, and even if they do, he's got balance and spark, and we know that goaltenders they're not important enough to be okay without synergies. Very few of them are. So this is a hard pass, instant sell right now. Then we've got the 82 Rickard Rakell, and I think just based on what I've seen and whatnot and the numbers I've looked at, this is probably the best bet, and it also sucks because, again, I would love it if it wasn't a king or a duck that keeps getting these sweet cards. So Rickard Rakell, 15 goals in 65 games last year. Again, he's going to get all the time in the world to score, but he already comes with 84 speed and spark. He's got a low 80 shooting, 6'2". The only knock is that he's right-handed, so he's got a lot of competition. That being said, there's a very high possibility that he scores 5 goals in the first 10 games, and he's already up to 87 speed. Then you get distributor activated. He's got a high 80 shooting total. This one's probably the best forward one for sure. Probably the best card overall. And at guys, if I see anyone buy Wayne Simmonds over Rickard Rakell for the same price, I will ban you. This is a great. No, I'm not buying this card because I refuse to be okay when a duck scores. But nonetheless, this is a very good card. Probably the one that if you're going to invest money in, this is the one to go after. Then we've got Philip Hronek, and again, defense is obviously a lot more difficult because they just don't score nearly as much. That's just it. He had 9 goals last year, which isn't bad, but that was in 65 games. Again, he's only got 80 speed, so he would have to score 10 goals to get 85 speed. Hard avoid. Only workhorse. This card needed speedster or howitzer or both, and it just doesn't have it. This is a hard avoid, insta-sell, get whatever you can for him. Then we've got Charlie Coyle, who's actually a really good build because he's so damn big, and usually a really good card. In NHL 20, he was one of the better ones, to be honest. But that being said, Barrage and Light the Lamp, not a huge fan of that, but... we'll see here. 80 speed, 70 face-off. That means he's a winger. He'd have to score 10 goals to get up to 80 face-off, guys. And he'd only have 85 speed. Hard avoid here. Insta-sell on the Charlie Coyle. Then we've got the 84 NEAL PIONK. So, obviously, again, as a defenseman, it's kind of tough. Neil Pionk last year had 71 games, had 6 goals. That was his career high. So he's not going to score a ton. Now, he does come with distributor, and he's got decent stats, and as workhorse. So if you can get workhorse activated, you can use him right now. It's not out of the realm of possibility, especially if you had spark activated too. Then he's got 89 acceleration. His shot is okay at 88 slap shot power. This is probably the most usable card outside of Jeff Carter, but again, on defense, a little bit easier to get in your lineup that you can use. But again, he's not gonna increase very often. And as the time goes on, we're already halfway through about 33% of the way through the NHL season in terms of the video game. He's just not gonna upgrade fast enough. Then we've got the 84 Brent Burns. So here's the thing that sucks about Brent Burns, because obviously one of my favorite players as a Shark. I would love to have him because obviously if you can, he's just. It's great having one of your favorite players in your lineup, and he's going to upgrade on your fantasy or on your hut team as well. Here's the problem: he had 12 goals in 70 games last season. He's obviously the best among defensemen in terms of scoring, other than John Carlson. But he takes so many shots on goal, and he is going to be vital. The offense is going to still run through him. There's a good chance that he scores 10 goals in the first 25 games, but again, same issue. He'll have 85 speed and no synergy to help it out. So. Hard pass here. It sucks, but if you get Brent Burns, I bet his price is high just because it's Brent Burns. There's no way I'm keeping him. There's no way. Sell this card and make 375,000 coins. That's a great price. And lastly, we've got the 85 JACCOB SLAVIN again with balance and shutdown. Runs into the same situation as a defenseman. He just won't score that much. So it makes it very difficult. So last year, he had 6 goals total in 68 games. He would need, he needs a little bit less than Brent Burns to be usable. 6'3" is a great size, as well as his shot's not. His shot's pretty bad. Let's say he gets 6 goals in 40 games. That's I believe that's May pretty much, or April at least. And he's got 87 speed. It's just not gonna work, guys. So I would avoid JACCOB SLAVIN as well. So, guys, just to recap, Rickard Rakell, definitely the best card, in my opinion, among forwards to go out and get with a chance to actually give you a return. Neil Pionk is probably the best card that you could get right now and use as long as you have distributor and workhorse activated. Jeff Carter, while he is absolutely brutal in real life, as LA King, they all are, he is a very good option because he has Swarm and Howitzer, makes him very usable and not bad. Clayton Keller also has a chance to actually be usable a little bit earlier than most cards and gives you a good chance of a return because he could have a boom year. And then Wayne Simmonds, sneaky buy, but as you saw with the market, there's too many Leafs fans that play NHL. EICHEL and Bennett, hard avoid. Just it's EICHEL needed speed synergies or something to get him in the lineup quicker. It's just going to take a while. So, all right, guys. So that is the recap and all of the in-depth details on the fantasy event. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Please subscribe for daily NHL content. Give the video a like if you did enjoy it. I'll see you next time.